Francisco Chronicle, and welcome to this live hangout with hopefully a couple of our Visionary of the Year nominees. We have with me right now Bud McKenzie, who is one of the reader-selected Visionary of the Year nominees. We're having some technical difficulties, but we hope to be joined very soon by Rita Simmel of the Interfaith Council. First of all, good afternoon, Bud, and thank you for joining me for this chat.
Thank you, John.
Okay, great. Well, let me start by giving the viewers a little bit of background about our Visionary of the Year initiative. This is really the first year that we've done this. It's the San Francisco Chronicle in partnership with St. Mary's College, its business school. It decided that this year we would put together what we hope will be an annual award for a Visionary of the Year from the Bay Area. And basically what we're looking for is you have so many people in this area who are finding new ways to do things and change the world for better, both in business and philanthropy. And we thought that having an award for a Visionary of the Year would not only award those and recognize those who are really making a difference in the community, but also a chance to inspire others who may be visionaries. So it's really the first time we've done it. We're getting a really a good response from readers. Let me tell you a little bit how it works. We started with a committee of 5 members and myself who wanted to come up with a dozen names of visionaries in the Bay Area. Let me tell you who was on that committee. It's really an all-star cast. We have Lorraine Powell Jobs, who is, of course, a very distinguished businesswoman in her own right, also the widow of Steve Jobs. We have Daniel Lurie of Tipping Point, which is really remaking the way philanthropy is done in the Bay Area and finding ways to make it more efficient and more effective. A lot of you may recognize Daniel from his work in getting the successful Super Bowl bid for San Francisco. So Daniel's been very involved in a lot of different ways, and certainly I think as Super Bowl 50 approaches next year, you're going to see a lot of his vision in that Super Bowl bid. Speaking of Super Bowls, we also have one of the nominating committee members was Ronnie Lott, who needs no introduction to Bay Area people. He was certainly played on some of those San Francisco 49er Super Bowl teams, and now has gone on to become a very successful business person in his own right. Ann Wilson, who is the CEO of United Way of the Bay Area, which has been doing a lot in terms of philanthropy, and she has certainly been a visionary within her field. And also Dean Zon Lee of St. Mary's Business School has joined me as well. I'm very pleased to see that Rita Simmel has just joined us. Hello, Rita. Good afternoon.
Hello.
I'm glad we overcame our technical difficulties. Rita, right now I'm just giving a quick overview of this Visionary of the Year campaign and how it works before I get a chance to let you and Bud talk about some of your work as visionaries in the Bay Area. Anyway, this committee, which I would contend are all visionaries in their own right, came up with a list of 12 nominees, and for those of you who either subscribe to the Chronicle or have been following the Visionary, the work on SF-Gate, you'll see that every Monday we've been having profiles of these visionaries, and it's been, I have to say, very, very gratifying and very inspiring. Well, in addition to our nominating committee, and this is why we have Bud and Rita here today, we also asked readers on SF-Gate to submit people that they thought would be visionaries, worthy nominees, and then once we came up with the final 3 from our reader selection, we're giving readers a chance to vote. And the 3 they came up with is Bud McKenzie. We'll be talking with him in a minute. Rita Simmel, who's well known to a lot of people in the Bay Area for her work over the years with the Interfaith Council. And then Elon Musk, who of course is the founder of SpaceX and co-founder of PayPal, SolarCity, and Tesla Motors. We invited Elon Musk to join us as well today, but his spokesperson sends his regrets. He's had some schedule conflicts. But I'm very, very pleased to have with us today Bud McKenzie and Rita Simo. Let's start with you, Bud. You were nominated. The nomination letter that we received on your behalf talked about the work that you've been doing in Afghanistan. Tell us a little bit about this work and what inspired you. I understand that your organization provides economic, educational, and healthcare assistance. Why is this your cause, and why Afghanistan?
Well, it all started in 2003, actually, when I was inspired by an article written about Greg Mortensen, and he was building schools in Pakistan, Afghanistan at the time. And I decided to call him. I went through an hour's worth of due diligence, and I asked him how much money he'd need to build another school. He said $25,000, and I basically said, go pick another village. I know my neighbors and friends here in Lafayette. We spent $1.5 million fixing up baseball fields. So I had no intention of doing anything other than that, quite frankly. Then what happened is I went to visit Afghanistan in 2005. I saw the conditions. I learned about U.S. involvement in the area, and those became life-altering. So I've gone back now 19 times. I go twice a year, and our primary focus is on education. Education is the solution to everything, almost everything. And the main task at hand for Trust in Education, or TIE, if you will, is to connect villages here in the United States with villages in Afghanistan and help them over time.
Now, but you've been doing this since 2003, you say, and it traveled to Afghanistan 19 times. Obviously, the war, at least the U.S. involvement in the war, is winding down a bit now, but did you experience any danger in terms of going to Afghanistan during this period of war?
You know, I've been there, like I said, 19 times. I have never once had anybody yell at me, "American, go home." Now, we don't tell them where I'm going to be. We don't stay in any one location very long. And yes, the Taliban are making it more dangerous now, particularly in the last couple of months, where they're actually targeting NGOs as opposed to, you know, government targets and military targets. So they're trying to drive us out, and we just refuse to be driven out.
I see. What do you see in terms of your work, in terms of advancement? I mean, certainly at the beginning of the war, one of the big issues was that young women were not being educated. Is that improving in Afghanistan?
Right. Well, we have 23 teachers now teaching over 1,300 children, half of which are girls. We just finished completing a second school for girls, and the enrollment went from 250 girls to 370 as a result. We're helping 19 refugee camps. We're distributing over 500,000 meals right now. We're sponsoring children that are getting them off the streets and getting them into schools. We've done irrigation projects. We've done a number of things, and this connection between villages is powerful. It's more powerful than anything else I've seen over there, quite frankly.
Do you raise most of your money in the Bay Area, or is it a nationwide or maybe even a global effort?
Yeah, it's primarily in the Bay Area. We do have sort of donors from all over the country, but it's primarily Bay Area, which again is drawing the connection between families here and families there. When I'm in Afghanistan, I'm not military, I'm not government, I'm not in the business of providing aid. I just represent a bunch of people in the United States who care about them. That's it.
Well, that's certainly a worthy vision. Thank you, Bud. Let's hear a little bit, Rita, about your work. Those of us who are in the media in the Bay Area are very aware of your advocacy for, you know, increasing interfaith dialogue. You've been doing this for what, 50 years now at this point. Tell me a little bit about, you know, what you do to promote interfaith, Rita, and how you got involved in this.
Well, I got involved in it because, and it is about 50 years ago, 1964, 63 to be exact, was the first time that major religious faiths got together in Chicago to talk about segregation, because it was the beginning of the civil rights movement. And one of the people who was there was a priest from San Francisco, Monsignor Eugene Boyle. And San Francisco was asked to have a follow-up conference, and when he came back, he spoke to the then Archbishop who said if the Protestants and the Jews agreed, they would do it. And the president of the Board of Rabbis at the time was Rabbi Alvin Fine, who was my rabbi, and he agreed, and the Protestant agreed. And so we formed a committee. That's what Democratic people do. We form a committee. And the following September, '64, we had 500 people at USF talking about segregation in San Francisco and the Bay Area for 5 days. And when it was over, it was agreed that just having the conference wasn't enough. We had to really do something about it. And so it was agreed that we would continue, and I was asked to coordinate it. I'm very good at unpaid jobs. And so I did that for 25 years. And then we had a homeless crisis we thought was going to be solved tomorrow. And Mayor Art Agnos asked the clergy of various faiths if they would open their doors to house the homeless. It was December 1988, and it was a very cold and rainy December. And I wasn't there because I'm not a clergy, but the president of the Board of Rabbis came to me afterward and said, we've got to be part of this. And so we formed a committee, and we opened the doors of several congregations, and about 30 other congregations provided meals. And at the end of February, when the rain stopped, we thought we were done. And the following September came the Loma Prieta earthquake. And the then pastor of Calvary Presbyterian Church got a grant from Church World Service to help the people who were upset by the earthquake. And Jim Emerson was told that the money could not only be given to Protestants, it had to be given to everybody. So Jim organized a committee. And to nobody's particular surprise, the same people who had worked on the homeless shelter were working on this. And when that was over, we decided we just couldn't start doing things by committee. We had to have an organization. And that was the birth of the San Francisco Interfaith Council. And I've been involved with it ever since.
Rita, let me ask you, certainly your work has evolved a lot in the last 50 years, and in some ways has become even more important in the last, well, really since 9/11, because there's been so much vilification and misunderstanding of Islam that, as we see, continues to this day. Tell me about some of your work in that area and some of the challenges that you face with all the, public understanding and mistrust.
Right about that, and I'm proud to say that we have taken the lead in speaking out against Islamophobia. The San Francisco Interfaith Council has encouraged other faiths to speak out as well. And it's interesting that you mention it, because this morning, before I came on this call, a group of us were at the French Consul General's office. We had Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish, Methodist, Hindu members of the community to talk about the support we wanted to give to encourage the French, who are dealing with this as we speak. And so we're constantly doing that, because it's very important that faiths, which are unfortunately at the base of a lot of trouble in the world, speak out for working together, because we do share so many common values. My husband always used to talk about an aunt of his who said, presumably, anything with a two is not good, T-O-O. Too much, too sour, too sweet, too fast, too slow. And that's true of every religion. Every religion has a two part to it. And those of us who are for moderation have to work together.
Well, you certainly have done a lot in that area, Rita, and have really been a force in the community and are widely respected. For those who just tuned in, we are talking to two of our nominees, reader-suggested nominees for Visionary of the Year, Bud McKenzie and Rita Simmel. Elon Musk is the third. He was not able to make it today, but I'd encourage all of you to take a look on sfgate.com/Visionary of the Year to see both the committee nominated members as well as the reader nominated members, the three. including the two that we have with us today, and your chance to vote. So this is your chance to evaluate the candidates. Let's go back to you, Bud McKenzie. Is there a visionary in your life that has inspired you?
I'm embarrassed to confess that there isn't any one person. And if there's anything that's inspirational, it's actually the people over in Afghanistan that I'm working with and helping. They're inspiring, given the circumstances under which they live, particularly the women. I'm totally inspired by how they've been able to carry on in such difficult circumstances.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a challenge after, with the changing with the U.S. withdrawal, and certainly, the Taliban is certainly making itself heard.
One of the major issues for the future is what is going to happen to the women. And there was actually a survey taken in terms of what's the best place in the world and the worst place in the world for a woman to live. Out of 164 countries, Afghanistan was the 163rd. It's one below, just one above the worst place in the world for a woman to live. So the challenge really is to help women in Afghanistan with their future, and education is the solution.
It is a challenge, and certainly, your vision is quite apparent there. Rita Simmel, let me ask you: is there a role model or a visionary that has inspired you in your work?
I think Bud's going to be my visionary. I'm very impressed and taken with what he's done, and particularly what he said about women. When I started my work, women were supposed to stay at home and have babies. But fortunately, I had a very supportive husband. But I do agree with you about education. And I'm so pleased and thrilled to hear about what you're doing in Afghanistan. And we need to do it all over the world and in our own backyard.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you.
Potentially we could have Bud and Rita voting for each other by the time we're through here.
Right. I've already voted for her.
You're both making a very good case.
I wrote about her.
Talk about visionaries. I guess if I were to pick somebody, it would be my parents. I was a little girl during the Great Depression, and we had some rocky times personally in our family, but my parents always felt that whatever the terms were, whatever we were living with, we had to help others. So I guess they were my visionaries.
Let me ask each of you, and I'll start with Bud, about this region. What is it about the Bay Area that cultivates visionaries in so many fields and so many different ways, whether it's technology, whether it's music, the arts, certainly, Bud, the work that you're doing, Rita, the work that you're doing. What is it about this area that is so rich in visionaries? Bud, your theory?
The French bread.
Sourdoughs, as some purists like that says.
I mean, there is a high concentration of very creative
people. I'm not sure I can top that.
There is a high concentration of people who are inspiring, and industrious in the Bay Area. It's true, and open-minded. That's the other thing. I mean, we are so fortunate to live in an area where people are open-minded and not closed. But I don't know, actually, quite frankly, how we got there. It's just that we seem to appreciate congregating together.
How about you, Rita? Do you have a theory as to why the Bay Area is such a
diversity? It's the diversity. We've got some of everything in this area, and that's such a blessing. I've learned so much from people of other faiths and other countries, and it's just an extremely important thing that we have. If you go any place and you take a look at the people who are there, you see one of everything.
Yeah, I think you're both right. There is something of, even in this region's DNA and in its history, of people who have come here who have not been accepted elsewhere, either because of their lifestyle or because of their faith, because of their orientation, and have really been able to reinvent the world. We're certainly seeing it in a very profound way right now in San Francisco with the infusion of technology, but we've seen it in so many other ways, whether it's music or gay rights or or just alternative face. It really has been a rich area for visionaries, frankly.
Who came up with this idea, John, of the
This
vision? Pardon
that,
me?
Thank you for the question, Rita. I didn't know that the questions would be turned on me, but I'm certainly glad to take that one. It was something that some folks at the Chronicle had talked with St. Mary's, particularly the Business and Management School, about the fact that this is such an extraordinary area for visionaries in so many different genres that there had to be a way to single out and give some public acknowledgement to those people who are making a difference in the world, and not just being successful, but being successful in things that we never could have imagined. I mean, certainly Steve Jobs is probably the ultimate visionary in many ways, where he would invent products that no one, he didn't go to focus groups and see what did people want, what were people demanding. He came up with products that by the time we got done, we can't imagine being without them. So I think the goal really was is there a way that we can tell these stories as well as honor people who are visionaries. I really think it was an innovative idea to have this Visionary of the Year. We're certainly very hopeful here at the Chronicle that it's going to be an annual award. Did that answer your question, Rita?
Yeah, it answers my question. It makes me feel very humble because I haven't invented anything.
Well, certainly, no question you have a vision. Rita, let me ask you, in terms of when you first got involved in this 50 years ago, do you feel that your vision is being realized of a better understanding among people of different faiths?
I think so, but there's still a long way to go. But I think more people are aware that I can live my life according to my faith, and I have the courage to let other people live their lives according to their faith, and we have a lot more in common than that which divides us if we take the time to look at it.
That is so true. Bud McKenzie, how do you feel about the state of your vision? Obviously a very ambitious one, to go into a war-torn country and try and provide education, healthcare, other opportunities for folks. Are you pleased, satisfied with the progress?
Well, it's the most rewarding work I've ever done. If I could say anything to anybody, it's become involved, and particularly become involved in helping people beyond our borders, because we do not do enough of that, quite frankly, John. We don't. And Afghanistan presents us with an opportunity where we've been engaged in Afghanistan for the number of years, and they've suffered 35 years of war, and we financed 23, either financed or waged war in the country 23 years ourselves. So Afghanistan presents an opportunity for us to help the people who are the victims of war. And I am encouraged. What it really takes is for Americans and everybody else to have trust. It's not that we don't want to give, it's just that we're too skeptical and too untrustworthy, quite frankly. And so I would urge everybody to get on the plane, and not necessarily Afghanistan, but anywhere in the world, and help the people who, half the world is trying to live on less than $2 a day. And it's become the most rewarding thing of my life by far, and I would urge others to become engaged.
Well, I want to thank and congratulate Bud, both you and Rita, for the work that you've done and the vision that you've brought to bear in the areas that you're trying to improve the world. I think you are really, both of you are very emblematic of what we're trying to recognize here with this Chronicle Award. So thank you so much for joining me. I want to let our audience know that even though 12 nominees are out there, you get a chance to have a voice in it. And if you go to sfgate.com/Visionary of the Year, you will get a chance to vote for Bud or Rita or Elon Musk, any of which would be a very worthy nominee. And I think what we've seen here today certainly corroborates that. And you should know that ultimately this is going to lead, at the end of March, the Chronicle is going to be awarding one Visionary of the year award, even though we are clearly have more than a dozen very qualified nominees. But the winner is going to receive a $10,000 grant to continue his or her philanthropic work, as well as a chance to designate a $10,000 scholarship at St. Mary's for a worthy student. So ultimately, this is not only honoring our visionaries, but a chance to really contribute to some good causes. Bud, Rita, thank you so much. Thank all of you for tuning in today, and what we hope will be the first of an annual event for the Chronicle. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Bye, Rita.
Thank you, and have a good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Okay.